Hey, welcome back to Monique's book list. So I am here to do a tag, and I believe it's called Under the Influence of Booktube or the Booktube Influence. I'll put the name. The title will say it all. I don't say it right. Anywho, let's get it popping. So the first question is, what fantastic book you've read off the recommendation of another booktuber? And it also asks, is there a book, oppositely, is there a book that you were talked out of reading because of a booktuber? First, fantastic books. Where do I start? English Wife, Red Sister, um, goodness gracious, what was the other book? Jane Doe, Grave Mercy. Yes, there's a ton, mainly by my homie, Bobby Reese too much. I really trust her opinion on books, and the reason why, and I'll explain it, and I guess I'm explaining it to you, Bobby, and it's because the genre which she prefers to read in is thrillers and a kind of horror. So when she reads a book outside of that and she likes it, I think one, it's not something that she would just say she likes because it's in the genre that she likes. And two, I think she's a very honest and opinionated person. So I trust that if she says it's good, then it's gonna be good. And I haven't read a book that I didn't like that she said you should pick it up. I'm being honest. She recommended Jane Doe. She recommended Red Sister. And English Wife, which actually English Wife was just on her TBR, which she didn't actually finish, but I enjoyed it. But yeah, so she's been good at giving me recommendations, and we don't read the same type of books, so again, I like that. I like the fact that she likes horror. I'm more of mystery and some romance, a little bit of smut, all that kind of stuff. Don't judge me. Okay, anyway, have I been talked out of reading a book? Let me think. I thought about this question the first time I filmed this because this is like the third time I filmed this. I think my energy better in this one. But anyway, both times before and even now, I can't think of a book that someone's talked me out of reading. Is there been a book that people have like hyped that I should read and I read it and I was angry? Yes, we all know how much I don't like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I think it's the only book that was overhyped that I was just like, I could have did without reading that. Okay. So the second question is, has BookTube opened my mind or changed my mind about any genre? Uh, I'm hoping that it changed my mind about contemporary, or I'm not a big fan of most contemporary books. Like, I'm not. I don't know why. I don't know if it's I don't know why. And also psychological thrillers. I'm hoping this year I'm pushing myself outside of my comfort zone to read more of those. So I'm hoping that I'll find a few or 1,000 that I like. Um, I think it's made me feel more comfortable with reading YA. I think I was a little embarrassed that I liked YA. And then when I say I like YA, there's specific books that I like in YA. Like I like Twilight, which everyone thinks is trash. I love that book. I think it is the most angsty piece of garbage that ever exists. But I love that shit. It's problematic beyond compare, but I love that shit. I'm gonna calm down. Let me calm down. Anyway, I love that book. And I know that there's a lot of people who are in the same boat where they like the book. And, and it's also opened my eyes to just try to read more YA because I am not very cool with angst. So it has just made me more comfortable with trying to read YA. Number 3, how much time did you spend on YouTube before BookTube, and how much time do you spend now? So here's the thing. Before BookTube, if you saw my new newbie tag, you know that I've been rocking with YouTube since like early 2007. I did a little stint of like vlogs before vlogs were a thing. I did hair reviews, which this needs to come out like immediately. I've done a lot on YouTube, so I used to watch YouTube a lot, and I still watch a lot of YouTube. So it hasn't really changed because I found BookTube because of Anne Marie, and I only found Anne Marie because of I was watching a interview she did on a show called The Breakfast Club. All right, so it hasn't really changed. That's the answer to number 3. Number 4, how many books did you read per month / per year before Booktube, and how much do you read now? Before Booktube, I have always read a lot. I thought I read a lot until I started really checking out these YouTube channels or these Booktube channels. In a given year, I would read between 30 and 50 books. And that's because I would listen to books. So it's not that hard to consume 30 to 40 books. You know, if you're working on a monotonous thing, you can listen to a book. If you're washing dishes, instead of watching TV, I will listen to books. So I haven't really changed that reading habit. I think this year I'm actually striving to read 11 more books than my standard. Now that I do Booktube. But that is like a small number. Like last year I wound up reading over 100 books. But that is a small number in comparison to some of these big time YouTube booktubers. Like, what's her name? Stephanie reads romance or talks romance. She read 356 books. When do you, are you not sleeping? Like, you clearly are not sleeping. How do you consume 350 books? Even if you're listening to 50% of them, that's a lot of damn books. Anyway, it's impressive. I'm not saying it to be dismissive or rude. It's impressive. So yeah, I'm going to stick to my striving to do 60 this year, 61 this year, probably 62 next year. I'm not gonna set the goalpost any further than that because it's not necessary for me. And the more okay, 60. I am not reading much more than I did before Booktube. That was question number 5. 4. Number 5, has Booktube affected your book buying habits? And if so, are you pleased or displeased by this? Yes, it has affected, and I am pleased by it because I'm not buying the same type of book. I'm not buying, that old murder mystery, that old cozy murder mystery anymore. Not just buying it. I'm also buying Red Sister. I'm also buying Jane Doe. I keep pulling those because those are from recent memory because I just read them. So yes, I'm pleased with it, and yes, it has changed. If you mean quantity or quantity, yeah. If you mean quantity, no. I belong to a lot of subscription services for both audiobooks and for ebooks. So I belong to Scribe, so you can technically read as many books as you want on there without actually purchasing them, and they're $8.99. Audible, again, you have your monthly credit, but you can also buy extra books on top of it. So no, I'm not buying more books. I used to buy a lot of books. Like one year I bought, I want to say, and again, this is a small number in comparison to some booktubers, but for me it was a lot. I bought 96 books, and I think I read 40 of them. So that's 56 books that I still own that I didn't read yet. And I am not going to say that year was recent. It wasn't recent. All right, so number 6, has a review by a booktuber ever retroactively made you reconsider your stance on a book? No, and kind of yes. Usually, when I hear other people's opinions about books, I try to consider a few things. One, is it a book that they normally like to talk about? I consider that. I just kind of, and I'll explain why I do that. 2, I don't know how to say this without coming off condescending or rude. 2 is, do they seem like, I don't know how to say 2 without coming off condescending. There's 3 main factors. One is it a book that they normally would read? 2 is kind of, how are they telling me they don't like it, basically? Like, how are they telling me? Are they just dogging the author? Are they dogging like, certain things that in my mind don't make sense? That. And then 3 is basically, why did I like it? Or why did I not like it? And if I can take those things in mind and hold on to them, usually my point of view of whatever they read or whatever I read, I don't change my mind. That doesn't mean I don't take in new information and process it, because anyone that knows me knows that if I have a debate with you about anything, best believe if I go home and consume it and say, you know what, they were right, you're going to get a text, you're going to get a call and be like, you know what, you were right about that. I've actually changed my opinion. But that doesn't mean that I just let people give me stuff and I just take it on as something that I need to carry with me, if that makes sense. So, like, everyone that I know and respect enjoyed The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. My review of it was awful. It was a lot of the stuff in the book was awful, and I didn't like it. I've read their reviews. I've listened to their reviews. I've watched their reviews. I've read reviews, and it just makes me feel like the way I feel, I just still feel that way. So there's not a lot of people changing my mind when it comes to certain stuff. So, all right. So now that I've gotten off my soapbox, let me go on to number 7. Number 7. Let's see. Are there videos let me read this to myself before I read it out loud. Okay. Are there videos that you have been inspired to make after seeing another booktuber's videos? And then that's the first question. And the second question is, have you ever felt inspired by another booktuber's style of video, basically anything about them? You know who I always look to be inspired by, and I don't necessarily like any of the books. I shouldn't say that. There's very few books that she likes that I like. Is Lala, I think Lala in Books, or Lala is Books, or something like that. She is an innovator. She finds an idea about books, and she just she's an innovator, and she's someone that people should be inspired by all the time. I'm inspired by my homie. I'm gushing about her, Bobby, because of Bobby's energy. If you watch any of Bobby's videos, one thing that you cannot deny is that she is passionate about books she likes. She's passionate about books she hates, and she's passionate about books that she just wants you to read. So there are personal style and things like that. I don't really try to like keep up with anyone when it comes to that kind of stuff, because comparison is the thief of joy. Like, that's a mantra that I tell myself all the time, especially having a kid. Because if you compare, because comparing my kid to someone else's kid, I told my husband this, and I said, I ruined a lot of time when she was smaller because I was comparing her to someone else's kid who was the same age. Like, my daughter is very tall already. And I was like, well, their kid is still in this, and she's in this size of this, and why is their kid, Jada's 2 months younger than her? So I would do that. So it became the comparison was stealing the joy that I had to have a young baby. And so I keep that mantra at just about everything. So I don't really compare people's like personal life to my life. I try to keep it clear that Booktube is about books for me. Okay, let me get this. Number 8. What are some of the pressures you feel on your reading life because of your channel? Read a lot, read a lot, read a lot, read a lot. That's when you're in the Booktube world, and it is probably one of the most inclusive group of ladies and men that I have ever had the pleasure of engaging with. They read a lot, though. They read a lot. And I remind myself, again, that comparison is a thief of joy. I try very hard not to compare my reading habits to someone else's for several reasons. One, I don't know what their home life is like. I don't know if they are stay at home. I don't know if they have an extremely flexible job like I do. I don't know. So I try not to compare my reading quantity to someone else's. But it is the stigma with booktube is every booktuber reads nonstop. They don't have a life outside of reading. So that's, if someone coming into it would see that's, and you want to do booktube, you may feel that pressure to read a lot. Don't read quality over quantity every day. Number 9. I guess number 9. I'm getting there. I got one more question. I know this is way too long. In what way, if any, do you feel the social element of the community has impacted your reading? Do you think about books differently since joining? Yeah, it has impacted I don't know if I am trying to make sure I understand this, if they mean social media or just the social of engagement. Social engagement, it's greatly impacted the way that I read. And if you notice throughout this video, I talked about how pushing myself outside of my comfort zone because of, Emily Fox, Bobby, Lala, Chelsea, Reed. I keep putting reads at the end of everybody's channel because of Bobby. Thank you, Bobby. But and Bookable. These ladies, they are very diverse in their reading, and they all read differently than me. And I appreciate that I can go when I'm about to fall into a slump, and I can go and grab from them. So yes, I do enjoy it. I love the impact that they've had. I love the engagement. Again, it's the most inclusive group of people that I've ever had the pleasure of talking to and engaging with. So I love it. I like the social elements. I like all the pretty Instagram pictures. So inspiring. My husband makes fun of the way I say inspiring, so I always say it funny on purpose. All right, so number 10, the last one. What influence do you hope your own channel will have on the Booktube community, or inspiring booktubers? I can't say it better than anyone else has said it. I mean, Bobby said it the best, is if you want to do this, just pick up the camera and do it. I don't have the best lighting. I don't have the best camera. I just use my MacBook. My MacBook is 5 years old. There's some lags. I just accept what I have. And again, I don't compare my channel. I don't compare my journey in this to anyone else. And all I want is to make people feel comfortable in doing this, and to get people to do it. And I love the engagement of the book clubs that are created, and the lives where people are talking to each other and talking about books and chatting. That is what I want to do. I want to just inspire people to talk more about books, read more books. I love TV like anyone else, but TV shouldn't be the staple of everyone's house, which I say that, and we have 3 TVs in our home. So, I don't watch a lot of TV. So I just want people to read. Reading has helped me in so many ways, and reading has changed my life in great ways. And I am very passionate about books. I love meeting new characters. I love being immersed in new worlds. I love that. And if I can help someone find their way to that enjoyment too, when you're feeling down and you know that the internet is being toxic, everything is on TV that is toxic, I can go find fun in a book, and then I can go to Booktube and watch someone talk about this book I read and either like it or dislike it and just engage. And I've always been a big book club person. I've always been into that. So that's kind of what I want to do, is just inspire people to just read and just, talk about it and read for less. I got a video about how you can read for less. So don't spend all your money either. But yeah, so that's it. Thank you, Bobby, for having me do this. It helped me think about my reading more. So thank you. And I just appreciate the love that you show. Always. I appreciate it. Thank you. And I will talk to you guys all later. Bye.